So guys, it's your final year of nursing school. You're excited? Soon you'll be flying solo. You might be wondering what's next. Everyone has their own piece of advice. Some people tell you to work for 3 years on a med-surg unit. Others say go directly to grad school. You're wondering if you'll land your perfect job right away. Hey, what if I don't get the job I like? How long should I wait before I take the NCLEX? All of those questions and more, I'm going to address right now in this video. Hey guys, welcome again to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nello, aka Nurse on Purpose. By now you know, it is my purpose to challenge media stereotypes of nursing. I like to encourage nurses to maintain excellence in their practice, and I also love to help nurses find their own purpose. If you've been following me, I've been going through a series of advice for nursing students in each year of nursing, and we're finally here, our seniors. It's your final year. Woohoo! I know it's been a ride for you, just going through the rigors of nursing school. The sleepless nights, nights spent studying, adding that to social activities, and maybe some leadership opportunities, being part of clubs, a lot of things. Many of you may even hold paid jobs. So I know that it's been a busy past couple of years and you have pulled through. So let me first say that I am so proud of you and I congratulate you. So now let's talk about some of the hot items that I know seniors have on their mind this year. And before we get into it though, just some general thoughts, okay? I want to reiterate some things I had said in my previous videos. So make sure that you're continuing in your mastery of clinical skills. Focus on seeing and doing as much as possible in clinicals. If you don't get into a nursing residency program, then this is pretty much it. You're going to be practicing solo very soon, and there's not going to be that much hand-holding once you're on the unit. So please take advantage of this clinical year again. By this time, you must already be a master at studying for exams. So I won't really get into that a lot anymore. Talked about that in the first 3 videos. So keep up with your style of studying, whether you're recording the lectures and, re-engaging with them afterward, or you're doing group study, or you like discussion style or solo, or even videos on YouTube with some visual aids, whatever that is, keep using whatever style has worked in the last 3 years. Start really getting a feel for the unit. This is another point that is most appealing to you. For me, that was pediatrics. I was drawn to the little ones, and I knew I wanted to serve in their space. I really wasn't so hot on adults like geriatrics, med-surg, telemetry, or like even OB. Besides caring for the newborns, I felt so uninterested in that part of my clinicals, even though I still took it seriously. But I really loved the peds unit, so I really put all my energy into that. It was just it spoke to my inner kid. I loved the unit. It was colorful, had great energy. And I really just always wanted to be around them. I felt so much compassion for babies on the unit, and I knew I belonged there. Some people even said I was special for wanting to work with kids, and they just could never. But I felt like it was the easiest thing for me. And I even thought they were the special ones for wanting to work with adults. I was like, I don't know how but anyway, but it doesn't matter because now I work with adults. So much for that. All right, so the last general thing I'll say before we dive even deeper in the video is continue forming those relationships with your professors. Remember, I talked about this part of relationship building in my previous videos. So make sure that you're making connections even outside of college. Every opportunity that you get to establish relationships and maintain these networks, from your professors to the people that you work with on the unit during clinicals. These are going to be your future colleagues, and they will be a great resource for you as you grow in your career. I'll say that's my sort of general advice, but now we're going to go into the more kind of nitty-gritty stuff, okay? My first point in my video to the third years, I briefly mentioned the value of both a nurse externship and a nurse residency program, okay? So a nursing residency is typically a year-long program. It's what you guys will probably be looking to enter into because it's offered to new grads, and it's done to support them as they make the transition from nursing school to independent nursing practice, okay? So what that means is that you will still work as a nurse, but you'll have more protected learning time, and you'll have more guidance, more supervision, things like that. So hospitals understand that there is a learning curve, going into a new career. And especially for a career like nursing that is so hands-on and demanding, because of that, they developed a way to ease nurses into independence. And I think it's such a fantastic idea. In fact, a research study, it was published in PubMed NIH, showed that there's a great benefit to nurses who are opportune to get into a residency after graduation, because that will really increase your confidence and boost your mastery of your skills. So with all that being said, when you're looking for your first job as a nurse, especially if you would like to start at a hospital, find out if you can, seek out these opportunities and see if they offer it in the hospital of your locality. So the next thing I like to talk about is preparing for the NCLEX. And now, if more detail than this is needed, it might have to be its own video, but I can definitely touch on it briefly now. The NCLEX, as you guys know, is your qualifying board exams, right? This is the tests of all tests. It's the crowning glory of your nursing, the start of your nursing career, okay? But please do not fret. You have made it this far. My candid advice, though, is keep it simple, but don't underestimate the test. I don't know if that makes sense. So pretty much what I'm saying is find a good balance. Make sure that you study well, but don't feel the need to have 7 different study materials. I don't think that you need all of them. In fact, when I did my NCLEX, the best book I used was NCLEX for Dummies. And I know it's simple, but I rented it from my local library by my house, and I used that one for content to get familiar and kind of reestablish those contents that I had learned in nursing school. And it was fun because they had cartoon characters and things like that. But I also used Lippincott, and I think I just used that one for more so questions. So don't only do questions though, because people say do 100 questions a day, but I would definitely advise that you read to understand the material. If you try to wing it, you will fail. If you underestimate it, you will fail. It is not an easy exam, but it also shouldn't stress you all the way out, So if you spend the time to study well, you will pass, you will do well. I'd say give yourself about 3 months, and that's just an approximation, okay? It's not law. But pretty much don't waste too much time after you graduate. So for instance, if you graduate in May, I would say give yourself till August for studying and reviewing, and then try to take it around early September. That's kind of like covering a full semester's worth. And I think 3 months is a good amount of time to prep, especially if you're doing it immediately following school, which is always best because the information and the study routine is already there. And if you wait too long, then all your friends will be passing and getting jobs, and you'll feel like, you're lagging behind, and you may even start to lose steam and freak yourself out. So I think it's best to take it soon after you graduate. Okay, now the question of whether or not to take a review course, I think that's personal. Like, I am a big proponent for doing things very well. Nobody wants to have to repeat the exam. So if you feel that you might be helped by a course, hey, go for it. They're created for a reason. All right, so I didn't do one for my NCLEX. Perhaps it didn't occur to me that I would need one, or maybe I just could not afford it at the time, or none of my friends were doing it. And so, I don't know, it just seemed to be whatever. Like, I don't know. In the moment, I didn't think about it, so I didn't do one. I guess I was more influenced by the happenings around me rather than having anything personally against taking a course. However, I did take a review course from my FNP boards, and I found so much value in it. I thought that was very helpful. So personal preference, okay? So without going into kind of specific details about the NCLEX, the structure of the exam, blah, 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 that's another video probably. That's just my brief advice about the exam. Again, do not underestimate the exam by any means, but also keep your study simple. Don't make it too complex, okay? All right, so as you're thinking about the NCLEX, another thing you should be thinking about at this point is your licensing requirements for your state and applying to jobs even before you graduate. Let's take it piece by piece. So the licensing requirements, that's pretty simple to find. All you have to do is go to the Board of Nursing website for your specific state, which is the state where you'll be practicing and you'll be residing. For many of you, it'll be the same state where you went to school because, unless you're moving out of state. And then you can just find the link for the RN license by examination, because your primary state will be the state where you'll be initially licensed. And if you move to a different state and you get your license there, then that'll be considered a licensure by endorsement, because you're endorsing. You already have your license, you're just endorsing into a different state. Okay, so where you take your exam, the state where you take your exam is going to count as your primary state. Now, to get another license, you don't need to retake the NCLEX. No, you don't. You just have to reapply for a license, to apply for a license there. Okay, now there's also such a thing, let me touch on this real quick, called a nursing compact license. So this is like a multi-state license, meaning if your state is part of those compact states, you can, with one license, practice in 41 jurisdictions or states, which is really neat. I think that's awesome. My state is part of the compact, but I know other states like California, New York, Connecticut, they're still pending legislation. But when I graduated, I believe there were only 28 states at the time that were within the compact, and my state was not one of them at the time. So it was a bummer. Whenever I had to move to a different place, I would always be getting a new license. And even when I did my travel gig, as an NP, I had to relicense and do the RN license in part. And you have to juggle that and keep all of them active, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's changed. So this is a step in the right direction because more states are being added to the compact. And I think patient care is patient care. I mean, a whole new license really doesn't change that. I think if there are nuances in the provision of care by a state, a continuing education course would be sufficient, but not a whole new license. So I really think that all the states that are now being added to this compact, kudos to you. It makes our life so much easier as we don't have to maintain each license with a fee so it doesn't lapse and all of that. And if you wanted to be a travel nurse, this is awesome because now you can just pick up and go. You don't have to jump through hoops and get 15 licenses. That was too much. Okay, so I'm going to put some information about the website and you can review their licensing requirements for your own state. Okay. All right, so my next piece of advice is simple. Now you're going to start job searching. At this point, you have to be sure to update your resume and then start to utilize your career centers. Every school has them, right? Especially if they provide services like resume writing, reviewing your resumes. Schedule some time to meet with a career advisor that can look through your resume and provide you useful feedback, corrections, and tailor it to the job that you're applying for. Then begin the application. Remember that in the 3 previous videos, I mentioned the value in forming connections with your professors. Okay, this is when those connections you formed with those professors, your advisors, your preceptors, and even the nurses you met during your clinical rotations. This is one of the times when all of that networking will become greatly advantageous to you, okay? These folks can provide you with glowing recommendations, especially if they feel that way about you. And these recommendations will make you stand out from other applicants. And so that's what I would recommend. So as seniors, I know that you're wondering, should I work for a few years? Should I go straight into grad school? What's the next step with furthering my career? All of that good stuff. All right. Now, there's lots of debate on this issue. And I think while my opinion is certainly not law, personally, I side with the idea of getting a few years of work as an RN under your belt. That's just me. I think, and I know some people will argue that with the school of thought that because if you have a specific goal to work in a specialty area as an NP, say in dermatology, for instance, then why do you need to wait? Because being an RN doesn't really help you in that way. But working as a nurse, I think, gives you a certain perspective of the nursing experience, starting at infancy, okay? So that you can better appreciate your profession and manage it well as an advanced provider. The skills that you'll gain in nursing will make you stand out in knowledge and perhaps even candidacy for any advanced clinical positions. Now, you can always go to grad school part-time and still work on a unit, which is the route that I went. I started grad school 2 years after I completed my bachelor's, and I did my grad school in over the span of 4 years. So I had a total of 6 years nursing experience under my belt by the time I graduated from NP school. So by doing this, my NP clinical rotations did not feel so brand new and overwhelming because I already had a feel for being in the space, right? I already had a feel for being in the hospital settings, and I was conversant with much of the culture, the language, and the practices of the hospitals. So there was no feeling of intimidation, would I say, by any of it. And while we're there, I should add that becoming an NP is not the only option to pursue after nursing. You don't have to be an NP after nursing school. There are many other routes to follow. And it really all depends on what your particular vision for your life is. You may choose to start your own business, for instance. You may decide you wanted to write a book, sell a product, or, just if you're business minded in that way, an MBA may even be the way that you choose to further your education. If you wanted to go into research, perhaps, then you might decide to pursue a PhD right away instead of going through the NP route. Some of you may want to go into nursing management, and for that, you may be considering something like clinical nurse specialist as the way that you progress in your career. You might even pick a different field altogether. I know some people do the legal nurse consultant route. So please explore. Do not feel like the only plausible option after your BSM program is an NP, because it is not. Do not put yourself in a box. If you have a different path or vision for your life, and somehow it doesn't look quite like what everyone else is doing, do not be afraid to explore your own path. Never be afraid. Find people that may already be doing what you would like to do and try to connect with them, pick their brain, but never follow a trend if the trend does not align with your future goals. And what I mean by not following trends is first see the vision that you have for your life and then make career choices that align with that, okay? So don't follow people just because they're in a psych program and so you're like, looks like that's making money, I'm gonna follow that route. Make sure that first you put your vision in front of you, decide what it is how you envision your life, and then start to make decisions, craft the decisions that you make and the jobs that you take, the degrees that you choose to obtain around that vision. Okay, please do not follow trends because that trend will quickly change and then it'll be something else. Do what is best for you. All right, guys, we've come to the end of the video. If you have any more advice to add for the fourth year students, especially if you're a recent grad, please leave them in the comments below so we can learn from and uplift one another. If you guys have questions for me about anything, about the NCLEX, about getting your jobs, about FNP programs, any questions like that, I'm here for you. I want to guide you. I want to help you. I've been where you are, so I really have a heart to pour into those that are coming after me. All right, I'm so proud of you guys for making it thus far. You are rock stars. I wish you all the best in your final year, and I will see you at graduation. Goodbye.